We're entering the final weekend of August, and if the Cleveland Guardians want to make the playoffs in 2025, it is now or never, starting with the Seattle Mariners this weekend.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into a Friday episode of Locked On Guardians. Whatever day you're listening to this, hopefully it's Friday, and you have your hopes high, your head down low, heading into the weekend series against the Seattle Mariners. It's a big one. We'll discuss that on today's Locked On Guardians, where we cover your Cleveland Guardians every day here on Locked On Guardians, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So we're talking Cleveland Guardians for the next 30 minutes. It's our favorite half hour of the day. We hope it's yours. I'm Justin Lada. I have been co-hosting this podcast with my friend and co-host Jeff Ellis since October of 2022, almost 3 full years. And I have been covering the Cleveland Guardians minor league system since 2007. That is 18 years somehow.
That's a long time. And I say that because I too have been covering them for 18 years since 2007. But mostly I'm known for my time at Locked On here, where I was one of the original hosts brought in to talk baseball. Before that, you might have read my work when I was a national writer at Scout and 24/7, focused on prospects in the draft. I want to take a moment and say a big shout out and thank you to all of our everydayers out there who are joining us. Let's see who YouTube talks about in the community highlight this week. We have John Fagan, Eric Burns, Richie Rich, Hunter Sanders, and Corey Ockler as some of our everydayers that YouTube is pointing out in the community spotlight. I want to shout out Justin's newsletter next year in Cleveland, right? Am I getting it right? Am I getting it wrong? Justin, let me know if I said it wrong.
The right name.
It's a great way to get a quick hit for all of the minors that we can't talk about every day on the show because there's so much to do. And I also want to say thank you for making today's episode your first listen today and every day, wherever it is that you get podcasts.
Yes, thanks for being here. We got a lot to cover. We'll talk about a couple of prospects down in Lynchburg that have been playing well this week. We got some information and some data to go over that has us very excited about a couple of these guys. We're going to touch on why this season could have been so much worse for the Guardians than it already has been. But we'll start with this Mariners-Guardians series, and it is the biggest series of the year for the Guardians, and it is a must-win series if they want to make the playoffs. Before we get into it all today, this episode of Locked On Guardians brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at Monarch Money for 50% off your first year. Since we're heading into the final weekend of August, I think we can safely say now, Jeff, that these are must-win games. You can't say that in April. You can't see it in May. You can't see it in June. But we're at the end of August. These are must-win games. I think we start off bottom line saying no less than 2 out of 3. I almost want to say sweep because the Guardians right now trail the Mariners by 5 games. And if you take 2 out of 3, you're still walking out of here, 4 games back. So depending on how you win them. So I think you probably want to sweep the series, which seems a little unrealistic. I know I had some math coming our way from one of our insiders who basically said, like, the Guardians have 30 games to go. They probably need to go 20-10 if they want to make the playoffs. That would get them to 86 and 76. And I would agree with that because all the Mariners have to do to get to 86 wins is win 14 games. So they're going to have to get hot, and they're going to have to get hot right now. And this is going to be a tough series, although the Mariners have stumbled a little bit lately, particularly with the pitching. Their starting pitching has not been great lately, and the bullpen has not been good. Unfortunately for the Guardians, their offense is the worst in baseball in the month of August. It's the worst in baseball in second half by WRC+. So it is the absolutely movable force meeting the stoppable object this series. Who's going to be worse, the Guardians' offense and the Mariners' pitching?
Yeah, I mean, they need guys like Kyle Manzardo to regain some of that heat. They need to find a few other players step up. Overall, it's going to be interesting. I don't want to go too deep on the bullpen because and talked about how a team had one of the worst recent pitching staffs in baseball. It was the Braves series, and we saw how that turned out. But the bullpen has been blowing up left and right for the Mariners. I think I can state that safely and just, make that has been a big issue for them. For a team with very good starting pitching, they've had their struggles. It's going to be tough, though. You got to get past George Kirby, Logan Gilbert, and Bryce Miller this weekend. Luckily, you avoid Woo, who's been woo-woo all year, especially of late. You got Logan, you got Gavin, you got Tanner. You need the most veteran guys on the staff to step up, be vets. We know that Josh Naylor doesn't hit lefties as well as righties, but I don't know about the rest of their team. I can look that up and see if they'll have any advantage with Logan. I mean, every team basically hits righties better than lefties. I don't know if it's such a huge disparity, but they need to win these ones. There's just not enough games left. They've had too many blown saves. Like, you bring back those blown saves, you mix them back in. Maybe they could take 2 out of 3 in this situation, but they've just had too many of those moments. Even with their offense, you can't have bad offense and a leaky bullpen and try to make it. So now backs are up against the wall. There's no way around it.
Yeah, they are. I mean, this is essentially a playoff series for the Guardians. If you lose 2 out of 3 in this series, even the slimmest hopes that you're hanging on to are pretty much all but dead. This is an important series for everybody. I mean, Gavin Williams was not good his last time out, didn't get deep into the game. Logan Allen got shelled his last time out. And, we've been down the road with Tanner Bibee's struggles. I think people would, really, I don't want to say forgive is not the right word, but I think to be willing to move forward a little more favorably on the season Tanner Bibee is having. And I'm sure he'd feel even better himself if he went out on Sunday and pitched his rear end off and pitched this team to a win on Sunday. But you got to score runs first. That's the hard part. The Mariners are coming off of a series win over the Padres, who are they won the Vetter Cup this year, the Eddie Vedder Cup, as it were. So that's a good team that they just beat. They beat the Athletics there, and they held them to 6, 7, 8 runs over those 3 games. And we all know how good the Athletics offense can be. So they're not as bad as we think. They had what's really driving up their numbers the last 2 weeks is they gave up 29 runs to the Phillies in 3 days at Philadelphia, which is a hard place to pitch and a very good offense. So that might be skewed a little bit. We'll see what happens. This is typically a very good starting pitching rotation for the Mariners. Kirby is good. Gilbert's good. Miller's good, even if they have had hiccups here and there. The bullpen is a little more interesting to think about for them because they have some names. Like Munoz throws hard, has good stuff. Matt Brash has always had good stuff. But he's always been hurt or inconsistent. Gabe Spire is here or there. Manzardo's been good. And then they've got, a bunch of guys, including former Guardian Carlos Vargas. That'll be fun. So you got a couple of ex-Clevelanders coming to town. You got Josh Naylor. Speaking of which, I want to hear your thoughts on this, Jeff. Tribute video for Josh Naylor, yes or no?
I'm not opposed, but I would have never thought to do it. Like, it's interesting. Like, he didn't come to mind for a tribute video, but if they do one, I think there's a logic to it. He had some big moments here. He had,
some very big ones, including some headbutting Tito and the Chicago White Sox, all the smoke game, the home runs off of Garrett Cole.
Just no postseason highlights in that video. That's what there won't be any other.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they could do a tribute video for Carlos Vargas, and that one time he warmed up in the bullpen and never came in. I mean, I'm sure they have some footage of that, right? Like, he warmed up in the bullpen literally one time and never came in the game. So, or you have Dominic Canzone and Luke Raley, who are Ohio natives. Canzone, Ohio State, and Luke Raley, who
Highland
is from
Kent State,
Highland and Kent. So you got those guys. Yeah, it's a homecoming, as it were, for a lot of guys.
You got just be careful that Victor Robles doesn't throw a bat at you, right? That's what you got to be careful for in this game.
Ooh, you know what? I'm kind of interested in what a little bit of a brawl would do for this team. Maybe that would be a good thing. I don't know. I don't want to be suspended, but maybe this team needs a little bit of that. Here's the other funny thing I think about the series too. The Cleveland is honoring the 1995 AL Championship team on Friday night tonight, and it's against the Mariners, a team they beat to go to the World Series. So I thought that was pretty funny. That's the farthest the Mariners have been in the playoffs since then. So I think that's also an ironic time to pick that, no? I saw one Mariners fan that I'm friends with who was like, really? That's the time they picked to do it? And I was like, I don't know if it was intentional, but I don't know if it wasn't intentional either.
It is certainly interesting to make that particular choice and to do it. I mean, that's the thing. Like, Cleveland has given the Mariners a lot of low blows through the years between the big comeback, some of those postseason runs. Cleveland is they've got some.
But the Mariners essentially ended the Indians dynasty because that was 2001 when they got knocked out of the ALCS by J.D. Moyer. And
John Hart ended the dynasty by being unable to fill the minors and trading away every young piece for 25 cents on the dime.
True. Yeah. Respect Hank Peters. Yeah. Speaking of dynasties, this year sure was not a dynasty, but it could have been a lot worse. We'll explain why next on today's Locked On Guardians.
But first, let's talk about our good friends over at Upside. Are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited promo code SEASON and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. It's a deal so good, you got to do it at least once. I know I'm going to. You can make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you already need. At first, I thought it was too good to be true, but it's totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon or other brands. Don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now using my limited time promo code SEASON for a limited 25 cent per gallon bonus. That's promo code SEASON. Offers vary by user. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions and do it today.
Hey, Locked On Guardians fans and Locked On Podcast Network fans who want to hear from you. The team has put together a survey for our listeners that's going to make this podcast and all your podcasts on the Locked On Podcast Network even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't like, be nice, and answer questions about our advertisers. So go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. If you complete the survey, you'll be entered in a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. So again, go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. We appreciate you helping us out, being here, and giving us some good, constructive, or positive feedback one way or the other. Jeff, I would love this series to be a battle of who's going to be higher in the wild card, or maybe even can the Guardians, get the Mariners out of first place in their division, or battling for record, right? The Mariners are only 2 games back of their division. The Guardians, that ship sailed. It's not that, and it would be much better. But the fact that the Guardians, given what's transpired this year, are coming into the final weekend of August at 500, and they still have even the slimmest of playoff hopes alive. I'm not excusing it. I know someone in our comments the other day was like, you guys have a good podcast without making excuses. This was the trade reaction, or the reaction to the trade. We talked about Kyle Manzardo, and I said, these are just our opinions. It's not really excuses. It's just how we feel. And I said, we criticized the team for the Yandy Diaz trade. So we did have fair criticism there too, I think. And same thing here. Like, I think we've been pretty fair all year. This team has not been a good team. They have not followed up last year. The bullpen got worse. The rotation didn't step up. And the offense also took a step back, I would say, because they were mediocre a year ago. Now they're essentially bottom 5. All that being said, they are still 500 and somehow in a playoff race, or at least the slimmest of margins. And they don't have their all-world closer whose career might be over. The biggest addition of the offseason, the other guy, the other pitcher, the other chicken fighter, he's also maybe done for life. Lane Thomas, nothing from him this year. David Fry, nothing from him this year. Carlos Santana, that was a bust. I have to admit that. Who else am I missing, Jeff?
Well, it's like, and even if we want to sit back and say, like, okay, so they gambled on Santana and it failed, or you gamble on Seawald and it failed because Father Time is undefeated. If we just look past that, you got 2 guys who got suspended, as you already talked about. You have they got nothing out of Lane Thomas, who was one of their most important bats from August until the end of the year a year ago. Literally nothing. The 2 prospects they were counting on to make an impact this year played, I believe, their least amount of games in a season. I'd have to check because that's a question with Chase because he's played so few. But between DeLauder having 2 surgeries this year, right? Because it's a hamate bonus. He had 2 surgeries, not 1, 2 surgeries in about 9 months. Juan Brito has been a picture of health his entire career, played under 40 games. Then it's not just that. It's the fact that, like, Bazana missed a ton of time. Like, he might have had a chance to come up if he had not missed more than half the season. Angel Janao, like, he's got to be added to the 40-man at the end of the season anyways if he hasn't missed the first 2 months. It's this really negative situation where all of your top prospects, the guys who are the closest, the guys who are counting on And and it's great. Kafis has come up and he's done fantastic. But he was behind every name I mentioned. So you lost your 2/3 of your projected outfield, and the other guys probably playing through injury. Decide to go do an all-star game instead of rest, but it's a story for a different day. You've got your suspensions. You've got, Ben Lively, who I don't think you mentioned, who was the most steady starter.
He was the opening day starter this year
from a year ago.
Opening day,
and just he's been gone. You didn't mention the fact that Walters, who we all thought was like, hey, not only do they have the big four, it's going to be a big five, because Walters is maybe the second most talented pitcher behind Clase A. Like, he is on the Cade Smith level, you and I thought. And arm surgery. We thought Trevor Stephan would come back and help this team out this year. I'm not saying we thought he'd be an eighth inning guy, but we thought for sure he's going to come back and be kind of help with some of the depth and help make up for inevitable regression. Said he's off the 40-man. It has been a cursed year when you look at injuries, suspensions. It's not just, like I said, the injuries on the roster. It's the injuries in the upper minors. It's the guys that have, you haven't had the chance to contribute. It's you went out and traded for Lane Thomas because you're getting a year and a half of him. They paid a big price and said they get nothing this year.
A year and a postseason.
because you got back-to-back injuries, elbow to plantar fasciitis, and it is a cursed season. This team, and they messed up in free agency. Though I had someone be like, Jake Junis has been bad. I'm like, Jake Junis is actually probably their best free agent signing in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, nobody talks about that. Paul Sewald had missed pretty much most of the year.
Yeah, it's, but like I said, you can argue that, like, that's just misses. That's not bad luck with Sewald and Santana. They took gambles that failed. A lot of people complain about Shane Bieber. They paid him all this money. It's like, well, if the team doesn't fall apart, like, then who cares? Because you get Shane Bieber and it helps elevate your team. I think that's a silly argument. But my bigger story is we've gone through all of this. We talked about, like, 4 hitters that they expected to have an impact who got hurt. We talked about losing multiple starters, 2 starters, and a future Hall of Fame closer, multiple relievers, and they're 500. Most teams that go through a hell season like that, you're talking top 5 pick. We're talking bottom 5 record. You look at some of the worst teams in baseball right now. I'll pull up Tankathon because I actually don't know off the top of my head who the worst teams are in baseball outside of, like, the Rockies. But, like, you look at a lot of those teams that implode, it's because of situations like this. It's because the Rockies can't qualify. That's it. But it's like, Pittsburgh is supposed to contend. Everything fell apart for them. Spencer Horwitz missed a good chunk of the year. There's Baltimore with all of their injuries. Like, season from heck, where are they? They're currently with the chance to have the 3rd pick in the draft. Like, this team, for as much as people like to, like, they're a 500 team. Yeah, they are now after all of that. Like, this is a team
they lost 10 in a row, and they battled back after that. That alone could have broken their season.
There's so many teams,
but
it did to a degree, but it's like, just bottom line, they're a 500 team right now. And for most teams that would go through that type of adversity, they're like Baltimore. They're picking, one of the 3 top bottom 5 records of baseball. This team, I'll say it right now, like, if Ortiz and Clase A were not making terrible decisions, I think we're talking about a team that's, like, if not in the wild card, is like half a game or a game out, just from what it does to the bullpen alone.
Cade Smith, like, if you have Clase A, you probably win a couple of those games this past week against the Mariners or the Diamondbacks and the Rangers.
Yeah, you don't blow those 2 saves more than likely, because, like, the first of them, you can say a lot of things about Clase A, but he's actually pretty good about keeping the ball in the park. So it's like, I don't think Gurriel takes him yard in particular. But it's like, when you look at all of that, it's amazing that the team is still 500. And for everyone who wants to complain and be like, oh, this is just a 500. No, they weren't a 500 team all along. They're 500 now after going through more than what most teams go through ever.
And this is not to say to excuse, like, okay, they had a bad offseason in terms of trades. Unlucky with the Ortiz.
I don't know if the trades were bad, but I think, the free agency was not good.
Free agency was not good. Those were bad gambles.
They never are good in free agency. It's almost like they should just skip it.
They almost should. So this is independent of all that. This is just speaking about who's on the roster, who's in the clubhouse, who's playing, who's around. Like, this is strictly for who's been on the field. The guys who play are put in the position they're in. They have to go out and play and do their best. And the managers and the coaches, the same thing. And this is what has become of it. And multiple times declared them dead this year, and they may be dead, but they're not, mathematically dead. If I had told you, Jeff, at the beginning of March, if this is all going to happen, you would have told me this is a 90-loss team, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And they might be a 500 team, which is
and we
that
didn't
great
even
based on
mention
last year? No.
I mean, but based on what they've done, I don't think it's bad. And we didn't even mention like Kwan's regression too.
Yeah, we'll touch on a few more points on this conversation coming up. And we'll also talk about 3 single A prospects that we are really excited about, surprisingly, because we don't get excited about those kind of prospects too often. We'll tell you who those are next. You are probably paying for so many streaming apps. And you know what? A lot of people also can't name all the financial accounts or what they're worth, if that's 401ks, properties, investments. You don't have the full picture. You know you're leaving money on the table. And that's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together. It's one clean, easy-to-use interface, and it's on your laptop or your phone. It's built for people with busy lives. So if you've put off organizing your finances, God knows I have for a long time, Monarch is for me, Monarch is for you, because it's going to do the heavy lifting for us. Link all of your accounts in minutes, see data visuals, smart categorization of all your spending, so you can see which streaming apps you're using the most. You can see where all your money is going, and you can feel control of your money. That's a good feeling without ever touching any of the complicated spreadsheets. And you know you can have those conversations with your partner that can be uncomfortable and talk about financial goals and savings for the future. So don't let this financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year, 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. As always, thank you for being here with us every day on Locked On Guardians. We will have Labor Day off on Monday, so no show Monday. This is sadly our last episode of the month of August. You will have the squad show coming your way, but if you want to see the squad show and you want to make sure you never miss an episode by us, you should be auto-downloading on all of your audio platforms, so it comes right into your feed, and make sure you're hitting the bell on YouTube so you never miss a video, including this video, game reactions. I'll have one Friday night from the ballpark after that game at the Mariners, and the LB Squad Show. It's coming your way later today if you already haven't listened. So lots of good stuff there. All right. You made a good point there at the end of the last segment, Jeff, about not even considering their lineup. You're right. Stephen Kwan, great April, pretty good May, right? And then pretty much since then, it's been below average. Daniel Schneeman's run hot and cold this year. Jose Ramirez has had a couple ups and downs, mostly ups. You know, Manzardo's having a terrible August. Gabriel Arias was really hot at the start of the year and has cooled off. You sent Brian Rocchio back to AAA and had no choice but to bring him back at some point. Angel Martinez has been, very hot and cold, mostly cold. Bo Naylor has had moments. Like, there's not one guy in this lineup except for like a couple of stretches of Manzardo and then the early season Kwan where we're like, wow, this guy is really carrying the team or having this really great stretch. Like, each of these guys have had small, little hot stretches. Nobody except for Manzardo and Ramirez and Kwan have gotten hot for an extended amount of time. And Kwan hasn't been hot since May. Manzardo had a great July, and Jose, has been mostly good with a few rough patches in between. And their best starter this year has been Slade Ciccone and Parker Messick. Raise your hand if you saw that coming. All these things. And we didn't mention they didn't have Eric Sabrowski to start the year either. He was hurt all season before, July. Will Brennan, who you and I didn't really think was going to be much of a contributor to this team, he's out. Even if you want, I know you and I, maybe you mostly, were not in the camp of Franco Alamán being a guy that was going to help this team, but he hasn't been able to either. So all of their depth and backup plans basically failed this year. What are you going to do? And they're 500, so it should be a lot worse. This should be a 90-loss team. I don't think they'll lose 90 games. they'd have to lose the rest of their games at this point. Jeff's on mute, so Jeff obviously thinks that they're going to lose 90 games.
No,
Sorry,
it's just
guys.
it's that situation. It's just I don't want to repeat myself anymore, but just like the last time I say it, it's like a year ago, it was easy mode, right?
Everything went right.
Everything went right. The injuries were very minor outside of Bieber. Like, you lost Bieber and then you lost Henches, and that's kind of like it. Everything else was together and going well, and they clicked on all cylinders for most of the year. And then this year, it's like they had injuries everywhere all the time. There was always a new injury. There was always a new issue. And, we'll see how it goes. And I mean, I can't even imagine too, like what it's like to have two separate players go down with suspensions for gambling in a season. Yeah, it's just that's something that most teams never have to deal with. So yeah, it's a long year, and I mean, I still believe in this team. It's like when people are like tear it all down, I'm like, no, like they're a 500 team that just went through more than they'll ever have to go through. And the young waves of talent should be hitting now, right? Like you're hoping Brito gets healthy. You're hoping DeLauder finds titanium bones. You got Bazana in Triple H. Now is going to join him soon. Cooper Ingles up there already. Caceres is here. Like the hitting waves are coming. And this offseason, we got to talk about like the pitching situation where they've just got so much pitching. They might have to trade a starter in this offseason because of the situation, which is the way the roster is, which teams always need pitching. So there's a lot of ways for it to go.
Well,
I think they're in, I think they're in, call me crazy, they're in a positive situation. And, I'm very curious to see how they approach this offseason.
Yeah. All right, let's talk some prospects. We'll finish out the day and finish out the week. There are some guys in single A. Now, to clarify in context, Jeff, you and I do not get hyped about single A prospects. The same way we don't get hyped about complex league prospects because the competition and the data is just so skewed. It's very hard to glean a whole lot from that. Box scores, you can, even watching games, it's hard because the competition is just not there. You can't really watch Arizona Complex League games from your laptop like you can MLB TV. But our friend Jeff Ponce had some great data over Baseball America this week, and he mentioned 17-year-old Juneiker Caceres as one of the biggest exit velocity gainers this year. He went from 101, 90th percentile, to 105. So that's only 4. It was like 4.7% up. Yeah, and he just turned 18 a few weeks ago. Was one of the talks of the Complex League. Has been hitting great in Lynchburg. This is a guy who's 18 years old, an outfielder, by the way, who could be in Lake County at age 18 next year, and he won't turn 19 until next August. Like that's something to be excited about, especially with that exit velocity. And this is a guy who probably will grow into his frame a little bit more, so there could be even more thump coming from him.
Yeah, he's not the biggest guy, so I mean, I don't know what the end thump will be. He's kind of
but he's going to get bigger just because of his age. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, because he's a real thin guy, but isn't he sub 6 feet, or is he 6 feet even?
He's 5'10". He's 5'10".
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought he's a sub 6 foot guy. So I know there's a lot of people out there already like, oh, who cares? He's not big. Like that's definitely a group. But he's doing a lot as one of the youngest players in the league. And what's interesting specifically now with this call up is if you look at what has happened with the pitching at that level, is all of the college pitchers are getting pushed in. So he's doing this mostly against guys that are 21, 22, 23. He's facing guys 5 years or more older than him because that's what gets pushed in August. So that's also another positive sign. And 5 miles an hour is a huge amount of gain. And as you said, I mean, I do think he's
in 1 year. Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost, there's a reason why he made the list of biggest gainers because, well, he was one obviously, but just like that's unusual to see.
He is 3.5 years younger than the average player at single A. That's pretty significant. And he's rocking a 785 OPS in 95 plate appearances. I will take that all day. So we'll see what happens there. The next pitcher we're going to talk about was a draft member of the 2025 class, but I also want to include Joey Oakie, who had a fantastic Thursday night game against Fredericksburg, by the way, who had Eli Willits, who's got Ethan Petrie. They've got a number of other really good guys. I think Luke Dickerson's in that lineup. So there's a lot of interesting names in that Fredericksburg lineup that he faced. 5 innings, no hits. Now he did have 4 walks. He struck out 11, and his fastball was comfortably sitting 95 to 97. In his last inning, he was getting to the 80 pitch mark, somewhere he's never gotten before. And he was still throwing 96, still blowing it by hitters. Oakie needs to figure out his control, but the fastball was electric, and guys were not anywhere near hitting his slider. So that was an exciting thing to see because you can really tell the potential there. There's obviously a long ways to go for Joey Oakie, but that's one of those starts where you look at him and you watch, and you can kind of see what it could look like when things get refined and things get better for him.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, he's fastball slider right now, and they're both have the potential
pitch.
Yeah, both have the potential to be a plus pitch. It's a situation where maybe he's a reliever because he's not the biggest kid or the thickest kid, but there is two really nice offerings, great athleticism. And let's be honest, like Iowa, he's a raw kid and he was overused a bit in high school, and they're developing him. But he's interesting. He's fun. There's a reason why you and I were both big fans of his coming into that year.
Is athletic, yeah. And we'll close out on Ryan Prager, who had 2 innings of 1-run ball in his pro debut, 5 strikeouts, gave a couple hits, gave up a run. I'm excited for Ryan Prager because very similar to the Josh Hartle thing, right? He had a terrible draft year. Velocity was down, fell down the boards, should have probably signed and with the Angels last year, but he didn't. And the Guardians are better pitching development than the Angels. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see like a Josh Hartle type rebound from Ryan Prager next season. He should start the year in Lake County in 2026. This is just to get his feet wet for the year and get him acclimated. I could see a Josh Hartle like progression for Ryan Prager next season.
My only concern there is like the stuff just isn't as good as Hartle. Like it's not is the only reason.
I mean, there's an above average changeup there. He's got a better fastball than Hartle because
he's never added any velocity since high school.
No, but the metrics are better because it carries more. It's not a straight fastball. There's some good metrics to it. That's why I'm saying it might be a better shape.
The data I had it as kind of a poor fastball this past year in college baseball.
Oh,
so
all right. Well,
we'll
see. All right. That'll do it for us this week. We will be back on Tuesday in your feeds, talking Guardians Mariners wrap up, and of course they go to Boston after that, so we'll have to get started on the Boston series, which by the way the Red Sox are also first place in the wild card, so that'll be another important series if the Guardians can stay afloat and win 2 against the Mariners this weekend.
You need to take 3. And speaking of taking 3, thank you all for taking the time to join us today. Rating and reviewing, downloading, it helps doing your part. We will be back on Tuesday. I hope you have a great long holiday weekend, and go Guardians, go.